In an increasingly connected world, where technology allows us to virtually explore the most remote corners of the globe, there are still places where time seems to have stood still. Places where ancient cultures remain untouched by modernity, preserving millennia-old traditions that challenge our understanding of the world. Welcome to the fascinating universe of isolated cultures and tribes. Imagine a world where the sound of smartphones is replaced by the beat of tribal drums, or electric lighting gives way to the mysterious glow of night fires. This isn't a movie set or a theme park. These are realities lived by human groups who have chosen or been forced by circumstances to remain isolated from the rest of civilization. But before we continue, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any revealing and intriguing videos. Estimates vary, but it's believed that there are more than 100 isolated tribes scattered around the world, with a total population that could reach up to 250,000 individuals. Most of these groups are found in the dense tropical forests of South America, particularly in the Amazon, but there are also records of isolated peoples in Asia, Africa, and even remote islands in the Indian Ocean. One of the most intriguing cases is the Sentinelese, inhabitants of North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Archipelago, India. With a population estimated between 50 and 400 individuals, this group has fiercely resisted any external contact for millennia. Their beaches are constantly guarded, and arrows are fired at any intruder who dares approach. What lies behind this hostility? What secrets does this small island hold? In South America, the Amazon is home to dozens of isolated groups. The Javari Valley, in Brazil, is considered the territory with the highest concentration of isolated peoples in the world. There, among winding rivers and dense, impenetrable vegetation, live groups like the Korubo and the Flecheros. Their lives are a mystery to us, but what we do know is enough to spark our curiosity. Unique dietary habits, enigmatic rituals, and a symbiotic relationship with the forest that challenges our modern understanding of survival. But what drives these groups to remain isolated in the 21st century? The reasons are as diverse as the cultures themselves. For some, isolation is a conscious choice, a way to preserve their identity and way of life in the face of external threats. For others, it is the result of traumatic past experiences, conflicts, diseases brought by outsiders, or the violence of colonization left deep scars, causing them to fear contact with the outside world. The existence of these cultures raises fascinating questions about human nature and our capacity for adaptation. How do these groups survive without access to modern medicine? What ancestral knowledge do they possess that could revolutionize our understanding of medicinal plants or sustainable farming techniques? And more intriguingly, how do they see us? What stories and legends circulate among them about the world beyond their borders? A particularly fascinating aspect of these isolated cultures is their relationship with time. For many of these groups, concepts like week or year may have no meaning. Their perception of time is often cyclical, based on the rhythms of nature, the seasons, the phases of the moon, the blooming of certain plants. This makes us question, is our modern obsession with linear time natural, or merely a cultural construct? The languages spoken by these peoples are another hidden treasure. Linguists estimate that there are hundreds of unique languages among isolated tribes, many of them unrelated to known linguistic families. Each of these languages is a universe in itself, with unique ways of expressing concepts and emotions. Imagine how many words exist in these languages to describe forest phenomena that we don't even know about. The issue of preserving these peoples is a delicate and controversial topic. On one hand, there is a legitimate desire to protect them from modern threats, diseases for which they have no immunity, the greed for natural resources in their territories, and the cultural shock that could destabilize their societies. On the other hand, there's the ethical dilemma. Do we have the right to condemn them to isolation, depriving them of medical and technological advances that could save lives? Some nations, like Brazil and Peru, have adopted no-contact policies, establishing protection zones around these people's territories. But this protection is constantly threatened by illegal loggers, miners, and even well-intentioned missionaries whose actions could have devastating consequences. One of the most intriguing aspects of these isolated cultures is their worldview. For many of these peoples, the spiritual world and the physical world are not separate entities, but rather a single, interconnected reality. Shamans and healers play crucial roles, acting as mediators between the visible and invisible worlds. What secrets do they hold? What entities inhabit their mythological universes? The ritual practices of these tribes are another fertile field for our imagination. Rites of passage, seasonal festivals, healing rituals. Each of these events is laden with symbolism and meaning. Some groups practice elaborate body modifications, such as scarification or piercings, with each mark telling a story, each scar a chapter in the individual's and community's biography. Their relationship with death also piques our curiosity. For many of these cultures, death is not seen as an end, but as a transition. Elaborate funeral rituals, which can last for days or even weeks, are performed to ensure the safe passage of the deceased spirit into the afterlife. What visions of the afterlife inhabit the imaginations of these tribes? One particularly fascinating aspect is how these isolated cultures handle internal and external conflicts. Without a formal judicial system like ours, how do they maintain social order? Some tribes have elaborate mediation systems where elders play a crucial role in dispute resolution. Others may have practices that seem strange or even brutal to us, but within their cultural context, they serve to maintain the community's balance. The question of leadership in these societies is also intriguing. While some tribes have well-defined hierarchical structures with hereditary chiefs, others operate in more egalitarian systems where decisions are made by consensus. How do these different forms of social organization influence these groups' survival and adaptation over time? One of the most mysterious aspects of these isolated cultures is their possible connection to long-lost ancient civilizations. Some anthropologists speculate that certain isolated groups may be direct descendants of cultures that were once great and powerful but, for unknown reasons, chose isolation. Imagine the stories and knowledge that may have been preserved over hundreds, perhaps thousands, of years. Art is another fascinating aspect of these cultures. Far from being primitive, the artistic expressions of these peoples are often sophisticated and loaded with meaning. Elaborate body paintings, ritual masks, sculptures, and weaving. Each piece tells a story. Each pattern is a code to be deciphered. What messages are hidden in these works of art? What secrets of the past and visions of the future do they hold? Their relationship with the environment around them is an inexhaustible source of admiration. Many of these groups possess encyclopedic knowledge of local flora and fauna, using hundreds of plants for medicinal, food, and ritual purposes. Their understanding of natural cycles and their ability to live in harmony with the environment offer valuable lessons for a world struggling with climate change and environmental degradation. But not everything is idyllic in the world of isolated tribes. These societies face enormous challenges. The pressure on their territories is constant, whether from agricultural expansion, resource exploitation, or the simple advance of civilization. Many groups are literally cornered, their ancestral territories reduced to small islands of forest in a sea of development. The issue of health is particularly concerning. Without access to modern medicine, diseases that are easily treatable for us can be devastating for these populations. A simple cold, brought by unintentional contact, can turn into a deadly epidemic. How can we balance respect for their desire for isolation with the ethical responsibility to prevent avoidable tragedies? The future of these isolated cultures is uncertain. Some may choose gradual contact with the outside world, seeking a form of integration that preserves their cultural identity. Others may continue to resist, retreating even deeper into the forest in search of isolation. And, unfortunately, some may disappear silently, taking with them languages, knowledge, and worldviews that are unique. Each isolated culture that disappears is an irreparable loss to humanity. It's as if an entire library were burned, taking with it knowledge accumulated over millennia. Each group carries with it answers to questions we may not even know how to ask yet. As we move further into the 21st century, the challenge we face is finding a balance between respecting these people's self-determination and the responsibility of protecting them. How can we ensure their physical and cultural survival without imposing our own values and worldviews? How can we learn from them without invading or exploiting them? Isolated cultures and tribes are a living reminder of our diversity as a species, of our capacity for adaptation, and of our deep connection to the natural world. They challenge us to question our own assumptions about what it means to be civilized or developed. In an increasingly homogeneous world, they are beacons of cultural diversity, guardians of ancestral knowledge, and, perhaps, bearers of solutions to some of the greatest challenges we face as a species. As we continue our journey of exploration and discovery, we must approach these cultures with humility, respect, and a sense of reverence, for in their hidden worlds may lie the keys to our own future. And what do you think about these mysterious cultures? What lessons can we learn from them? Leave your comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating videos about the mysteries of our world. See you next time.